guys and gals, it's your buddy Drew with Living History's Mysteries and Three-Eyed Raven Productions. You know, so far in the month of March, we have looked at a lot of mystery and myth and folklore from the Emerald Isle in celebration of Irish American Heritage Month. But I wanted to delve into a little bit of the history, the true history, the recorded history from Ireland as well. Today, we're going to take a look at the Norman invasion of Ireland and how complicated at times it was for a force as mighty as the Normans to take that little island. Check this out. You guys are going to like this.
In 1066, the Normans invaded England, as you know, William the Conqueror. But it was another 27 years before they finally invaded Wales. They obviously made various incursions into Wales to spy out the land, but they're too busy getting England under control. But then in 1093, it all changes for Wales. A man named Roger de Montgomery, the great Earl of Shrewsbury, the second most powerful man in Britain after King William I, decided it was time for him to invade. And he came into Wales with his son, youngest son Arnold, and they arrived here at Pembroke in the year 1093. So what happens is, Roger goes on and leaves his son Arnold to build a castle at Pembroke, the very first one. And at the western tip, it was a natural place to put the defensive castle. There was already most certainly a ditch, perhaps an Iron Age ditch there, and the Normans took that and deepened it to a depth of 10 metres, running across the peninsula from north to south, and then they erected a wooden castle first, creating a wooden wall across the peninsula, in which there was a gatehouse, and inside the castle itself there was a Norman wooden hall where they sat and lived, stables, ancillary buildings, and of course a well. And that was the very first castle at Pembroke in the year 1093, built by Arnulf de Montgomery. There were two members of the de Clare family in this story. One was Gilbert, the other one was his son Richard.
Gilbert de Clare was known as Strongbow as a result of his ruling over the lands of Strangbow. Later, his son Richard de Clare would go on to inherit this name despite not using the title himself.
Gilbert de Clare was already a very rich man. He'd come across with William the Conqueror, had lands and titles. He was made the Earl of Pembroke to control the west end of Wales, and he was given the title of Earl by King Stephen.
Over the following years, Richard de Clare demonstrated to King Stephen that he wasn't loyal to him by offering support to Empress Matilda, a woman who, at the time, possessed a greater claim to the throne of England than King Stephen did.
And when Gilbert died, 1148, and his son Richard de Clare assumed to have taken the earldom of Pembrokeshire. That's not the case, because King Stephen no longer trusted the de Clares, and he did not confirm the appointment of Richard to the earldom of Pembroke. And eventually, Richard had his estates taken away from him because he offended the king mightily.
Over in Ireland, Dermot MacMorrough had recently become king of the province of Leinster following the sudden death of his older brother.
So Dermot was chief or king of Leinster, and he was continually feuding against the surrounding lands of Breffni and Ossory, but he also had the support of the Northmen. He was just trying to hold on to his land, i.e. Leinster, and gain some extra land, and they didn't like him. He wasn't a very likable man, apparently.
Ruler of one of the surrounding islands, Tiernan O'Rourke, wanted to stop MacMorrough from gaining more land. O'Rourke slaughtered much of the livestock in Leinster to cause a famine in the area and ruin MacMorrough's reputation. In 1152, MacMorrough took O'Rourke's wife to the Rock of Donamaise.
Dermot MacMorrough and Tiernan O'Rourke's wife is called a kidnapping, but there's actually an argument or discussion for whether she was kidnapped or whether she went willingly. Apparently, there are letters going between the two leading up to said kidnapping, but it wasn't very romantic because she left without her dowry, i.e. she left without any animals, furniture, monies, a dowry. And she left with nothing. He had people on his side until that moment. He crossed the line.
O'Rourke's wife and McMorrow stayed together on the Rock of Donomays for 3 years until O'Rourke, along with his ally O'Connor, launched an attack on McMorrow's land and took her back to Brienne. After this incident, McMorrow's crown was taken off him and he was forced to flee Ireland in 1166.
Rather than sit and do nothing, Dermot immediately travelled across to France to meet with his friend and ally, King Henry II. They'd worked together previously, and he said to the king, "Would you please help me to restore me to my throne?" To which Henry II said, "I can't, I'm too busy here in France, but I'll give you a letter, a licence, that you can seek help from any of the lords, earls, in England and Wales. They may well help you." And that's exactly what Dermot did. Now, when Richard de Clare heard of this, having been stripped of his lands and titles, he thought it was a golden opportunity to restore my fortunes, my titles. So he immediately offers help to King Dermot, and they plan the invasion of Ireland.
With the help of Robert Fitzstephen and Maurice Fitzgerald, Richard de Clare raised an army of around 700 men, and within 2 days, they had successfully invaded the Irish town of Wexford. After Wexford was claimed, Richard grew his army to contain over 1,200 men and prepared to invade the towns of Waterford and Dublin.
They set sail from Pembroke Castle, in fact, on the river below the river Pembroke, and they arrived near Waterford at a place called Passage, and very quickly took Waterford and Dublin. So now they had Wexford, Waterford and Dublin, and things were really beginning to get established for the Normans. The moment they arrived in Waterford, the king kept one of his 2 promises that he'd made to Richard Strongbow. First, he would make Strongbow his heir as the King of Leinster, and secondly, give him his daughter's hand in marriage. An Irish princess called Aoife, which in English is Eve, and indeed, immediately they arrived in Waterford, Richard and Aoife were married.
The Rock of Donomays was given to Richard as part of his dowry with Aoife. Richard immediately had a wooden keep built on top of the site.
Dermot Moira, the King of Leinster, in 1171 died, and immediately Richard Strongbow declared himself to be the King of Leinster, which was to make of his children princes and princesses of Ireland. In 1171, Richard is now the King of Leinster. He owns vast tracts of land, controls huge territories, and is getting too powerful for the liking of Henry II. So Henry II decides to visit Ireland himself with his own armies, and when he arrives in 1171, puts all his own men into Waterford, Dublin and Wexford, but retains Richard as the Lord Justiciar of Ireland. In other words, Richard is the king's man in Ireland from this point on. In 1176, Richard Strongbow dies. When he dies, he leaves 2 children, a minor called Gilbert. Gilbert too dies, unfortunately. He would have inherited his father's estates, but they passed to his second child, a daughter called Princess Isabella. As far as we're concerned here in Pembrokeshire, Lady Isabella was the second Countess of Pembroke, because there's no evidence of Richard ever being given the titles of Pembroke. When Richard Strongbow died, Isabella was taken into the wardship of King Henry II, and she had to be taken from Pembroke over to London when she sailed across from Ireland. And the job was given to Sir William Marshall, and he escorted the now beautiful young woman from Pembrokeshire to London and fell in love with her. And as soon as he could, he asked her hand in marriage from her ward, the king himself. And the king, Henry II, said, "Yes, but not yet, but I will definitely give her to you in marriage." Unfortunately, he died before that could happen. Unfortunately for William, the successor was King Richard I, the eldest son of King Henry. And Richard kept the promise that his father had made, gave beautiful Isabella in marriage to William Marshall. William and Isabel arrived at Pembroke to find Arnold's wooden castle still standing proud. Marshall came prepared, he'd laid out his plans, and his stonemasons came with him, and he gave them instructions to build exactly what he wanted. First of all, they replaced the wooden wall with a huge defensive stone wall. The ditch is there, the 30 feet, 10-metre ditch is still in front of it. And then they build a great gatehouse in that great wall, and inside that, they build a great tall tower called the Keep today, but probably called a donjon. It's a round tower with a domed roof. When it was built, it stood 28 metres high. They added the defences of Pembrokeshire by building another 50 castles in a 40-mile radius of Pembroke Castle. They were all Motte and Bailey castles, initially built with a wooden tower on a mound, but most are now just either mounds of earth or depressions. We've found 49 of the 50 so far.
Nowadays, Pembroke is still one of the largest privately owned castles in Wales. The title of the Earl of Pembroke went on to become extinct and be recreated a total of 10 times throughout history.
Hey, welcome back, guys. You know, it's like I said in the beginning. The Norman invasion of Ireland was not always easy, but once they got a foothold, it went crazy. It's that way throughout a lot of history. We don't really know the intricacies of how things happen, and we have to take these little trips back in time to really get a look at how things happen. Of course, they're not teaching all these details in school these days. There's just not enough time. How do you teach 2,000 years of history in a 6 or 8 month period? It's almost impossible. But that's all I got for you guys today. As always, what am I smelling? Smells like bacon. Anyway, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. God bless you. God love what we do. Man, it's even getting warm in here. We'll see you out there.